I think we can start now. First of all, I mean, you guys can type like where is it that you come from, how old are you, and like, are you in the industry or not, just so that I can know better how to approach this webinar. I'm gonna talk out of my own experience, more than a lecturer or a teacher, who I am not. I'm actually a film director. So the best I can do is to talk out of my own experience and my own experience in the industry and how things work. My name is Antonio, and I'm from Portugal, and you can check out my stuff through that link. As I was saying, I'm from Portugal, but for the past 6 years now, my career was mainly international, and I've worked in all the continents there are, and loads of countries, and doing the same thing, which is not only commercials, but like directing for brands, be it brand entertainment through TV shows, commercials, music videos, but all very client-oriented. The main difference in between being a commercial director and a film commercial is that, you know, like I started as a film director myself, and the amount of freedom that you get from directing your own stuff doesn't really happen when you're a commercial director, and it doesn't really happen. Oh, thanks, Mohammed. And for Jordan, living in Qatar. And do you work in the industry? We're both the same age, by the way. I'm also 35. But let me know if you work in the industry. All of you guys, just feel free to also throw Jordan. Good. Oh, okay. That's nice. Okay. Well, good luck then. But as I was saying, the main difference has to do with your freedom. While you're a film director, you get to do everything from scratch. You have an idea, you work on that idea, you start scripting it out, and you have to work out budgets, obviously, but then you can work around your idea according to the budget you have allocated, but you never really lose control of anything. It's your movie, your film, your idea, your script. Obviously, this is a film. It's a team job. You don't do things alone, and you have to delegate, and you use other people's skills to make it better. But in the end, it's your film. And the main difference is that when you're working with clients, it's never your film. If they would, by any chance, have, you know, the acquired skills that you got throughout the years of working in the industry, if they would have them, they would never come to you. They would just produce everything in-house. So usually what happens is that they fall in love with the stuff that you're doing on your own films. They fall in love with the aesthetics of it, with pace, the rhythm, the emotional side, and then they want to allocate all those to their brands, and they want to, you know, make their brands more sexy through the kind of aesthetics that you've been developing. And this is always very tricky, because in the end, I would say that 90 to 95% of the brands in the world, they're not sexy at all, and they're very hard selling. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, like, we all watch TV, or we're all exposed to online, and we get like bombarded with commercials on a daily basis. Our main reaction to those is always to, you know, change the channel, or if we're on YouTube, we skip the commercial. And why? Because, like, whenever someone is deliberately trying to sell us something, we, by instinct, neglect it and we avoid it, and we believe that, you know, like, oh, they're trying to trick me. So it's always very tricky to make something look and feel emotional when we're dealing with brands. And the way to do it is always to try to pursue the client to do it through soft branding, where you tell a story, you engage the audience, but you don't really show that much of the brand itself. But then again, you have a client who paid for airtime, which is very expensive, by the way, and they want to make the best out of every single second or minute that they bought into. So what happens is sometimes, like 60 or 70% of the times, is that they will watch whatever it is that you shot, and they will go, but wait a second, my logo out of those 30 seconds only pops up for like 3 seconds off. So I'm buying 30 seconds of airtime, and then I only get to have 3 seconds. What they forget is that the whole commercial is meant to engage emotionally with the client in a way that, you know, like in a way that they will come to you through online or through whatever media, but they would come to you looking for more information. But we'll get to that later. So the basics of film producing. Another Mohammed, 29, from Syria, also living in Qatar, working as a photographer. Cool. So coming back to basics, I don't know how familiarized you are with the process of filmmaking, but there's 3 main stages: pre-producing, producing, and post-producing. Meaning that through pre-production, what we do is we develop the idea, and we have to brainstorm the idea quite often, and then we start highlighting whatever needs to be done, whatever resources need to be allocated to fulfill and to produce that idea. This usually is like the phase that takes longer. When it's done properly, a 30-second commercial or a 1-minute commercial, when done properly, will take around a month to 2 months of pre-production. Then production phase is the shooting itself. You have everything in place, and then for a 30-second commercial, it takes around a day, 2 to 3 days if it's really complicated to accomplish. But it's like the shortest time frame. And then you have post-production, when you assemble everything that you shot and you edit it, and you have to grade it and whatsoever. We'll come to that later, but it's like the finalizing stage of it. So in commercials, and as a commercial director, there we go, we have a question. Oh yeah, guys, just feel free to come up with questions and give your own feedback whenever you guys have anything to bring to the table. So during pre-production, a director, mainly what he does, there's 2 different workflows. I'm gonna use the board here. So you have, oh, this is not writing. Here we go. You have client, sorry for this drawing skills of mine, but with the mouse it's not easy. And then you. It can go both ways. You can have it directly from the client, or you can have it through an advertising agency. And these 2 are actually very, very different. What happens is when you have it directly through a client, usually the client has a very broad an idea of what they want. They have the money for it. Most of the times, they're not very aware of the costs involved, but they do have some money for it. But they're very willing to listen. They're very willing to listen to your feedback, and they trust you better. And in my opinion, it's a lot more easier to work with clients directly. The down part of it is that because clients are completely unaware of how the industry works, they also come up with completely impossible demands that it's just, in film everything is possible, but it costs money. But clients are completely unaware of those, so they usually come up, like they want helicopter shots and big bombs and Formula One cars. But then again, they only have like 5,000 euros to spend on those, which is like, well, you can't do it. And then the other way around it is when the client works with an advertising agency. And what happens with advertising agencies is that they have your back covered. They know how the industry works, so they are capable of filtering the client needs and the client demands in a way that what you get from them are like very reasonable demands. But then again, the problem is that they don't give you any sort of creative freedom. Basically, when you work through an agency, they come up with the idea, the storyboard, the script, and everything is aligned in a way that they only come to you because you're a service provider. They come to you because they like your aesthetics. They know you can lead a crew and a team to make it happen, but they don't give you any sort of creative freedom. So in my opinion, having considered the pros and cons, I do prefer working directly with clients because they're more genuine, and you get to go that emotional side of things. It's a lot easier to bring out when you work with clients because they genuinely fall in love with ideas a lot more easier than agencies. Even because, like, with agencies, there's also something that you have to deal with constantly, which are egos. Film directors and film producers and everyone involved in film industry, we are also, and we have to be, in a way, and to some extent, creative. But agencies, that's their job, that's their core business. They're the ones who are expected to be creative. So they don't really like the idea of having like another layer of creative people coming around. They would rather have you like like you would be the geek guys that only make it happen, whatever idea they've conceptualized. Anyway, so when it's directly with client, a film director is given the chance to actually write a script, to actually come up with a concept that works for the brand. When it's through agency, a director, it's only the guy that pulls the strings of his or her crew to make it happen. And the way it works is that the first thing you get is a pitch. Be it with clients or agencies, usually it starts with an email or a phone call. They send you a pitch. And they say, okay, we have this idea of a couple in bed, and they're talking about an app that this brand is selling, and then we jump to the app. And this is the pitch. Then as a director, you're given the pitch, and you have to interpret it and come up with something new. You have to basically you develop what we call a treatment. You have to write back to the agency or the client and let them know how is it that it felt for you. What is it? What are the highlights of everything that you read or saw from them? And you have to come up with ways and give references to how how would you envision that shot? How would be the pace, the rhythm? What kind of music? When does the music come in? What kind of people are you interested in casting? And I can show you guys, because I brought here some for you to see. And I have examples of both client directly or agency production books. The production books are what I was referring to as treatments. These are in Portuguese because these were the last ones that I've done, but I'll guide you through it. So this one was for Burke. First thing that I do here, this is in Portuguese. I will not translate it to you. I'll just summarize it. But again, this is like in written everything that I got out of the pitch, and how I see it happening. Like, what kind of shots? Is it like more close-up driven? Is it like more wide-angle driven? What kind of colors? Is it warmer? Is it colder? Do we have a lot of in-focus or out-focus elements? Is it more subjective, where you kind of like when you kind of like work behind elements and kind of like show things, but not like on your face, but more like if you're hidden, more kind of like a voyeur attitude. And this is where you get to explore all of those. Then you go scene by scene. This is in Portuguese once again, but where it says cena right in the beginning, that's scene in Portuguese. And you can see there's like a bunch of scenes. This is kind of like writing a script. But then again, this was like what I got from the agency was already what I'll show you guys later. It's already a mood board where they kind of like give you like inches on what they want to see in the film. So basically, then you have like to put them all together in a way that narratively makes more sense, or gives it more insight, basically. So scene by scene, you explore the film that you want to make, and scene by scene, you describe everything that happens in each scene. And this is just like the schedule, the proposed schedule. And then you have casting. You have to propose casting. Well, this was for a couple, so it was a he and a she. Then you have to give them alternatives as well. And then this is for voiceover, because we needed to have voiceover. And this is because on this one we had to justify the kind of camera that we wanted to work with. Because we had a lot of like color issues, because this was for Berg, and Berg is a clothing brand. And when it comes to clothing, one of your main concerns has to be the colors, so that the clothes itself get to look exactly the same on film as they would on real life. And then this is the end of it. But I'll show you what I got from the agency. So this is what I get from the agency. Basically what they do most of the time is that they go on Google. Which camera do you prefer for ad shoot? It really depends a lot, Shaif. I mean, I've worked with Alexa. I've worked with Blackmagic. I've worked with, lately I've been working with a Sony FS7, the latest. It really depends a lot. I would say that like the most complete camera there is, the one that I like the most, would be Alexa. Definitely Arri Alexa. But Arri Alexa is very, very expensive. And then it depends. Like if I'm shooting at night, I would not use a Blackmagic, because its ISO, it's super high. Its native ISO is super high, and it's a bit grainy at night. So that's what I was saying about getting the camera. You have to adapt and justify the camera that you're using depending on kind of shots that you want to get. And for that, a specific commercial, this one, Berg, the one that would do the trick better would be Blackmagic. Obviously, this is not my call alone. I have a photography director that works with me, and we debated the issue, and we had to do some research about it, and then we got to decide on the camera to use. But then again, as I was saying, this is what you get from what I got from the agency. They basically collected a lot of stock shots from the internet, and they developed the script. And this is what we call a mood board, because the agency gives you like a route to follow. They have already the script aligned, it gives you a route to follow. What about using DSLR camera for shooting video? Okay, I've used DSLRs for ages now. They're fine. They're really good cameras. If you go on, I think you just came. Oh no, you were here from the beginning. But if you go on my website, you can see that there's a lot of DSLR stuff on it. But for commercial work, there's a lot of things that DSLR don't cover. When you go to post-production and you want to bring in all those colors, all those different layers of stuff, it just doesn't do the trick. It starts like everything starts falling apart. So they're fine for like video shooting, but definitely not for commercials. I mean, I've done it with commercials already, but only because like the budget is so low that it has to be more like like an after-party mood video than anything else. But again, coming back, this is what you get from the agency. Stock shots, a very broad an idea of the mood they want to create, and a very broad an idea of how they want the story to be told. I think you have access, you guys have access to these documents as well, so feel free to go through them later. This one, the script is in English actually, and it's in English because this was a campaign. This bird campaign was a campaign for the whole Europe, so it was in English for that reason. And then the whole thing comes together in a movie. But if you take a look at this mood board that I was given, and then you take a look at what was actually shot, you can see that not only everything is slightly different, because it has to be, because this is only stock shots for reference, as also narratively it's different. And that's kind of like what is expected from you as a film director doing commercials to do, is to interpret and to bring it to another level, give it, a deeper meaning, and work it around to make it more cohesive. I've just sent you the link to the film itself. So I'm gonna also play it here without sound, just so that I have an idea of how long it will take you guys to watch it. Okay, I'm gonna play it now.
The world is a challenging place, full of question marks, theories, and certainties. The world is an endless journey, full of starting points and destinations. The world is a huge meeting point, joining people from close and far distant places. The world is permanently changing. But the emotion of living in it remains the same. The thrill of finding new routes. The comfort of an unexpected shelter. The surprise of random encounters. The joy of planting seeds and watching them grow. The beauty of turning days inside out.
And I hope all of you had the time to watch it and the link worked properly. So as you can see, it's slightly different. But again, it comes back to the mood board itself, and you have to follow those. You can't just like go freestyle and do, oh, thank you, Shaif. You can do your own thing, because that's not what you're being paid for. You're being paid to conceptualize and to make happen someone else's idea. And that's the tricky thing about being a film commercial. So as I was saying, during pre-production, basically you get these, you follow up, and you do a treatment for it. Usually there's more than a director or more than a production company involved. It's kind of like a balance in between what you can do aesthetically and the budget that you bring to the table, and that's like both those combined is what makes an agency or a client to choose you or someone else. So in order to be competitive, you always have like to bring your very best to the table for the very best possible price you can think of. And Shaif is asking which camera you use for that ad. That one was Blackmagic, the Cine Blackmagic, not the Pocket. No. I have nothing against the Pocket, by the way, but exactly, it was exactly by. I mean, you said nice tone. I'm not sure if you're referring to the colors, but it was exactly because of the color tones that we decided to go with Blackmagic. And then once you get hired, or your production company gets hired by the agency, what follows are the PPMs, pre-production meetings. Those usually start with the agency, and then the last ones are with the agency and client combined. And during those, what do you do? And this is a very, very hard part of the job. What you do is explain in detail everything, but I mean everything that you're gonna do. Sometimes it's very exhausting, but I do understand the need for this. And the need is that on the other side, be it the client and even the agency, because agencies know about the creative process of it all, but they don't know about the technicalities involved in the film industry. And for that reason, you have to explain in detail. Here's my producer coming in. His name is Pedro, but I don't think he wants to show himself to the camera, because we're doing a pre-production right now. But as I was saying, you have to explain in detail because they don't know the technicalities involved in the film production, and for that reason, they're afraid of everything. It's like it's the same way. The same thing goes with any of us. You know, I know nothing about cars. You know, like all I know with cars, I drive. I have a driving license, but I don't know like how it works inside. And then I come up to a mechanic and say, you know what, I want an engine that allows me to drive like, I don't know, 160 miles with no gas in it, or almost no gas in it. And he's gonna ask me for like, I don't know, 50,000 euros for it. I want to make sure that one, I'm not being ripped off. Two, that actually the car is gonna do whatever I need the car to do. So I'm gonna be a pain in the ass, and I'm gonna be asking that guy to explain me by detail everything that he wants to do, and how much does that cost, and how long will that take, and why and how will that be actually working fine once it's done. And that's the reason why we do all these PPMs. Basically, I usually call them like I usually call the film directing job during that stage. It's like being a fireman. It's like you go to a PPM and you calm them down. You just go like, oh, it's fine, it's covered. I know, yeah, yes, we do have the actress aligned. We do have actors. We have the locations. Everything is in place. And then you leave, and after 2 or 3 days, all you get are like outrageous emails saying, but what's happening? Oh, we're losing it. No, we're not losing it. And then you go there again and you explain again. it's fine, it takes time. We just send you this for approval and that for approval. We're waiting for this confirmation and that confirmation. All this process takes a long time, obviously, but these PPMs are mainly for that, to calm them down and let them know that everything is fine. And on the last PPM, as I was saying, or the two last PPMs, the client also comes in, because up until then it's all with the agency. The agency wants to have the main control of it all, obviously, because it's their client. So they want to bring in the client only when everything is covered, when they feel that whatever question the client might bring to the table, they will have the answer ready for them. But then after everything calms down and everyone is more or less assured that we have a good film aligned, then we go into production phase. During production phase, you go and shoot, basically. And when you're doing your own films, you get to call the shots. Like, you get to say, you know, I'm gonna do first take, second take, third take was perfect, done. This is exactly what I needed. The actors performed brilliantly. The background and everything was just perfect. I'm done. Let's move on. But not with client, because the client has never done a film or has done very, very few films throughout their lives. So they get super, super insecure. And what usually takes me in my films, usually takes me like 3, 4, 5 takes to do, I end up very often taking like 15 or 20 takes of it. And we're talking about, you know, like, oh, because the way he's sitting, it kind of feels weird. And then we go like this, and like this, and like this, a little bit more like this, and like this, and like this, until we come up to, and we come back to the initial position and idea. Most of the time, we just come back to the initial one. But it is understandable, because again, they're paying for it, and they just feel super insecure about everything. So and that's the reason why to shoot 30 seconds takes so damn long, and it can take a day or 2 or 3 days, because it's very hard to make a client make up his mind about, okay, it's fine, we have it covered, the shot is great, it's looking great, we have what we need in the can, let's move on. It's very, very hard to do this. And also, my job as a director and a film commercial director, our job is to not only to get the film in the can, because again, as I was saying, after 3, 4 takes, most of the times I got it, because they're super easy most of the times. But it's more about assuring them that everything's fine. So you're not only a film director, you're pretty much a PR most of the times. You know, like, and you have to justify every decision that you make, and you have to, you know, you just have to justify everything. Oh, Fatima wants to ask a question. Yes, Fatima? I cannot hear you. She declined. Feel free to ask questions whenever you want, guys. So as I was saying, it's not only a film directing job, but also very, very much into a PR job, where you have to justify everything and calm everyone down for, you know, like, ever, basically. At the same time that you're leading a crew. Oh yeah, because I'm forgetting that part. The film business, the film industry, it's pretty much a crew work. We don't do anything alone. As a director, I don't only come up with the concept, but I also have to delegate on other people's responsibilities and trust them that they have better skills than mine to perform their own jobs. The DOP, director of photography, knows more about photography than I do. I know what is possible and what it's not. I've done it quite often before, and I know what can be done and what cannot be done. And in general, I know how things should be done to accomplish that look that I want to accomplish. but I have to trust that my DOP knows better. And sometimes I'm, you know, like I just go, oh, okay, I would not do it that way, but you know, like you're the guy doing that, not me. You can see the video that Mohammed explained. Mohammed, you explained the video. Let me see. I can't see anything about Mohammed explaining the video here. Mohammed, if you're there and listen, can you follow up on this and let me know what video are we talking about, please? So basically what you do, you can see the video. Okay, this is the video that I just showed before. Okay. And so basically, in order to be a good director, because you have to lead a crew, you have to know a lot about everyone's job. You have to know how long it takes to set up the lights, how long it takes to set up the sound, how long it takes to build a wall in the studio, or to paint it, or to how long it takes to do makeup, to dress up, rehearsals. You also have to know how hard it is to be an actor and to perform well as an actor. Because I mean, you can't I cannot have like a crowded room with 50 people carrying stuff around and making noise, and at the same time ask an actor to cry as if his child just died. It just doesn't work that way. In order to get that kind of like intensity in the performance of an actor, if we're talking about drama, I need him to be like in the zone, basically. So I need him to feel it, and in order to feel it, I need to take away the crew, let him be, work around with him, work the character with him, and work the feelings with him. But we have to calm everything down. And the opposite occurs when you want something completely different. If you want him to be like completely stressed out and kind of, well, then bring on the whole crew and make loads of noise around and let him feel like super insecure about his own place in the film, because that breathes out when you're shooting it. In that video, or you used green screen? I used green screen on some of those. I went to some other locations. I did shoot around the world quite often for a lot of brands, and this one included. But this is when you're working with client and agency. And then on set, you have the agency and the client approving directly everything that you shoot. The other way to do it, as I said before, is when you work directly with clients. And I do have a great example of a job that I recently directed for Remax, which is like the biggest real estate agency in the world. And this was quite interesting because Remax came to me saying, okay, listen, we have money, we just don't know what to do with it. But we want to do something different. Because they were always very hard selling, but they wanted to do something different. I thought about it, I read about Remax, because you always have to do like that research on the brand itself. What is it? What's the brand about? What are their core businesses and core structure, and how they position themselves in the market towards their own target audience. So I did it, and I realized that, you know, like, it didn't take long to realize it, but Remax didn't really need a commercial per se. I mean, no one really needed to know that Remax sells houses, because they're super big. Like in Portugal, their market share is like 45% or something. They're like by far leading the market, and everyone knows who they are. So what they really needed was to jump up the ladder from being a brand that sells houses into being a love brand. Basically, a love brand is something, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term, but it's exactly like a brand that doesn't need to sell anymore. Obviously, they need to sell, but they're so well placed in the market that their main communication focus, it's not about their products anymore, but more about, it's how should I explain it? It's more like they want to prove that they made it big, basically. And they want to prove that they made it big by being close to the people. They want to be loved more than people buying into their products. They want people to love them. And that's what I thought Remax should be about. They're so strong in the market that their next step would be to actually make people fall in love with them. And so instead of selling houses, my idea was that, you know, like, we have to bring Remax back to the people, bring it closer to the people. We have to show that Remax and their salespeople, they're people just like us, basically. And to do so, my idea was to have both a man and a woman who would be salespeople working for Remax, portrayed as any other common Portuguese would look like. And they would go on this backpacking adventure through Portugal from north to south, where they would experience the Portuguese culture through food, music, you know, like everything. Basically, they would feel the culture, and they would mix with the people in the country. And that's what I explain here. And this is the copy. It's in Portuguese, but I can assure you it's very emotional. It's very uplifting. It starts with a wake up. This is a time to open your eyes to something bigger. The world is waiting for us. Very impatient. Wake up, and then you understand it, and then you live, basically. And when it says then you live, then the movie kind of like explodes into this paraphernalia of things that happen, and they're backpacking, and they're meeting people, and they're doing, they're eating, they're doing everything, basically. So the copy goes on saying it's time to face the world, meet its people, sense its smells, walk its ways, experience their taste, and so on, until it wraps up, because at Remax we want to give the best to all those that come looking for our services. We want to be the best for you. Again, we had to give them like options for casts, options for voiceover, and then we had like a storyboard, which was more like a mood board, because again, there was no agency involved, so we have to give the client kind of like a feel of how it's going to look like in the end. And again, with the copy on the side, as you can see, we have the picture, and then there's a copy on the side, so that they can like follow the pictures, knowing what these pictures are on about, and all the way through till the end. So again, as I said, when you're working this way, basically you get to be a lot more creative. And this is how the film, you couldn't attend green screen training. Saleh, I wish I could help you out, but like green screen here in 15 minutes and through a webinar would be super, super hard to explain. Plus, I'm not a director of photography, so I know how it works, but I'm probably not the best person to explain it. But anyway, this is how the Berg film turned out. You guys have the link there. I'm going to play it as well, just like I did before, so that I know when you're done with it.
O mundo espera-nos, impaciente. E tu percebes, e tu vives. Está na hora de enfrentar, percorrer os seus caminhos, conhecer as suas gentes, sentir os seus cheiros, experimentar os seus gostos, abraçar o próximo e cantar com as suas vozes. Está na hora de festejar a vida e nadar nas nossas águas. Está na hora de subir montanhas, mexer na terra, amar, ser amado e viver a adrenalina do mundo. Está na hora de ser melhor. Está na hora de dar. Está na hora de dar e ter prazer em fazê-lo. Está na hora de sonhar de olhos abertos. Porque na Remax nós só queremos dar o melhor a quem nos procura. Queremos ser melhores por si. Remax. Sonhar de olhos abertos.
And I hope you had time to watch it. Oh, you couldn't watch it, was it, Saleh? I'm just following up on the chat here. What is it? Is it Vimeo that it's not working? Oh, no. Oh, okay, it was something different you guys were talking about. But anyway, I was saying, I hope you had the time to watch it. And so the process here is completely different. The client comes to you, he has money, he doesn't have an idea, you come up with an idea, and they're very trustful most of the times. So for you to have an idea during production, we didn't have anyone with us. The client didn't come with us, no one. Basically, we were left alone with the time. Oh, thanks, Shaggy. Thank you very much. We were left alone with the time and the resources to do our own job in our own way and come back with a film already done, basically. And obviously, when you do things this way, you kind of get better results because basically you have a lot more time to focus on, you know, like what I call very useful details that otherwise you don't, because like they ask for like endless takes on stuff that, you know, like 2 hours ago it was done, it was okay, let's move on. So it's a lot more rewarding for a film director to work directly with a client, even though they ask for impossible things, because they give you that freedom for you to do your own work. Yeah, I know I could. Well, it's only in Portuguese, I'm afraid. But you know, like it's all about, as I was saying, it's all about inspirational, uplifting copy. The voiceover is. And then once everything is shot, basically what you do is you go into post-production, whereas you do like, you first have the offline editing and then the online editing. Offline editing is like the narrative editing, basically. You tell the story, you set up the pace, the rhythm, you put the music in place, the voiceover in place, and you set up, it's like building a puzzle, basically. And then you move things around and you see what works best and what doesn't. Thank you guys. And what works best and what doesn't in the film, and that's offline editing, basically. Online editing is once offline editing is done and approved with a client or agency, you go into online editing where you make everything look neat. Because if I am to show you like the difference, but I'm sure you guys know because you've been asking questions about cameras. But if when you see what comes out of a camera, it looks pretty awful. It's like a raw picture with no contrast, no saturation. Everything is kind of like blurry and mushy. And on online editing, you have to make it look bright, pull up the colors, give it contrast, give it definition in the sky without losing definition in the highlights in the sky without losing the blacks. All that is done through online. And also after that, what you do is you stabilize shots, obviously, and then you correct little things. You know, like oh, there's a pimple in the forehead of on the forehead of the actress, so let's remove it. But this is something that you have to do frame by frame, because obviously the actress is moving. So you have to take the pimple on first frame, pimple on second frame, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on, while the actress is moving. Or you have to add things to it. Imagine like, and we've done that with Remax on a couple of shots, because the longer version, my director's cut, the longer version is one that it's online, but obviously this was turned into 60 seconds, 30 seconds, and 10-second versions to go on broadcast. And for those, which were the client ones, we had to, on a bunch of shots, or like 3 or 4 shots, we had to add more branding. Because obviously, as I said in the beginning, that's their main concern at all times. So basically, in random walls, we had to place like a Remax billboard of a house that had been sold or was for sale, but something that would transpire branding throughout the movie. That's all things that we do in online editing. And we have to make it in a way, with the reflexes and all, that it looks exactly like it was there in the beginning when it was shot. Let me see the questions here. I can't understand that. You shoot it with Blackmagic? No, this one I shot with Sony FS7. The client who asked for a 3-minute video, or you make it at 3. Exactly. As I was saying, Mohammed, this is my director's cut. And there's also like a longer 3-minute version for the client, but this was turned into 60 seconds, 30 seconds, and 10-second versions for broadcasting as well. Yes. Editing FCP? No, unfortunately. FCP7 is a great machine. I've used it before I was a director. I was a senior offline editor for 7 years. And I used FCP. I started with Avid, a media composer, and then I jumped into FCP7, and it was a magnificent tool. But it's slightly outdated now, and definitely FCP10 doesn't do the trick. It's fine for videos basically, because you get to have like everything, but you know, like once you ingest the footage up until you have like a final result, you can do everything on FCP10. But to work with other softwares, media interchange formats like XMLs, EVLs, it's just awful. So now, usually nowadays I'm working with the latest Premiere CC, and that one is of all the ones available in the market, the one that looks and feels closer to what FCP7 used. But oh, as I was saying, so the director's work during post-production is to, obviously you give it out to an editor to do his own craft. But first of all, you have to brief the editor. You have to come up to him and say, okay, listen, this is how I shot it. Here's the storyboard. These were my ideas and what I thought while I was shooting it, and even before I shot it. This is what I wanted to do with the shots that I've done, and see if it works. And when I say see if it works, it's exactly see if it works. Because I know that what I shot, given my years of experience, I know that it will work. But you know, like fresh eyes always help. So basically, if I have an editor that come up and say, okay, fine, but you know what? I was looking at it, and if we change this and that, well, let me know, what do you think? Doesn't it work better for you? And sometimes, and a lot of times actually, it does work better. Because there's always like things that you had like a premeditated idea on your head, and you're very confident that it would only work that way, but then someone else has like sees it with different eyes and come up with something that was even more clever than you. And to be a director, it's also to be available, as I said in the beginning, available and willing to bring the best out of all the people in your crew and work with their own skills to make the film look better and feel better and be more cohesive. And that's where editors come in. You brief them, you give them your initial idea, but you also give them the freedom to try out different things and come up with ways that would improve your own film. That's for offline. And then once offline is done, obviously we bring in the client and the agency. We all sit down, we all watch it again and again, and then usually it always comes down to, oh, we want the pack shot and the logo at the end to be longer so that the brand stays on screen for longer. That's usually like #1 demand during offline presentations. We need more logo, basically. And then they go on, you know, like, can we have like a different alternative for that smile? Oh, the mouse kind of twists a little bit, but you know, like small details. But you know, some battles you have to choose your battles, right? And some battles are just not worth being fought. Sometimes you just have to, okay, fine, just take it, because in the end, as I said in the beginning, commercial directing is not about directing your own films, it's about directing someone else's film. So basically, you're a service provider, and in the end, they get to choose if they like your film or not. So let them have it. You can keep like you can keep your own director's cut for your own portfolio, but let them have their own version of it. And once this offline procedure, sorry. I color correct? Mohammed, could you kindly send that link to my email? And create access to email. Okay. DI color correction. You mean what sort of software do I use? DaVinci. And then after offline is done and approved, we jump into online. On online, we use DaVinci. I use DaVinci for color. Well, not me. I have a grader who uses DaVinci. And we do, as I was saying, all the cleanups that need to be done, all the stabilizing that needs to be done, and we add up everything that needs to be added. Also, like everything that has to do with like 3D animation, motion graphics, all that comes with online editing. Well, 3D, I think everyone can understand. Motion graphics, it's, you know, like everything that has to do with, it's bidimensional, it's not like 3D, but everything that has to do with either like pop-ups of logos or letterings, fonts, everything, all that animated, it's all motion graphics. And again, your job as a film director is to brief the editors and be on top of the game, and also, you know, like accompany the whole process, and again be part of the approval with the client. Let the client know what's possible and what's not, why you went that way, why you chose things to be that way, and always trying to, I don't like the word convince, because it's not about convincing, it's about making them realize what works better film-wise, what works better and what doesn't. And to summarize it, yes, this is what it is to be a commercial film director. It is obviously to know the craft of filmmaking. You have to know it, but it's a lot. It has also a lot to do with PRing and making people feel calm and safe with the money they're spending, and letting them know that yes, they're in good hands, their film is going to look nice, and they're not going to run away with the money. Yes, we are going to deliver. And again, and also, last but not least, is about making someone else's vision come true. In the day that a client has the skills to make a film happen and come through, they will not hire you anymore. They will do their own films. I think that's it. Guys, I don't know if there's any more questions coming from you. We're about to finish here. And the YouTube link, let's see. A video that Sharif has done. This is a good example of motion graphics. Thanks, Mohammed. Drone shot? Yeah, I figured. What was it? A GoPro on a drone?
Yeah. Ansar Al-Ghali.
Oh, photos. Yeah.
See
that? This was DSLR, right? Yeah. It looks amazing. My issue with DSLRs is that mid-tones are perfect, but then when you have like loads of highlights, you have to compromise. Either you're going to lose detail on the highlights, or you're going to lose detail on the lowlights. This has to do with the amount of stops. Like 60 has 12 stops, if I'm not mistaken. While FS7, like the one that I've been working with, you get to have up to 16 stops. And that's loads and loads of information that you would lose in between. But very well shot. I do like the shots. And the other issue with DSLRs, obviously, is this shaky effect, because you have the sensor so close to your own hands that you always have like this kind of like shaky feeling. Yeah, exactly. You have very steady hands, right? But there's no way to avoid this. DSLRs are always this way.
Yeah,
very much so. One thing I didn't say about being a director is that I don't think you learn it. You might learn like the technical skills, but you can only be a director by, I think it's hard to explain. It has to do with like personal life experience. It has to do with kind of things that you like and how you put them together. But it's not really a learning. It's not something that you learn. And that's the reason why I was an editor for so long. I always thought that I needed more life experience. I needed to mature my craft before I would jump into being an editor. You use the drone very well, by the way, because I see a lot of stuff shot with drones that it's just like completely pointless, like why drone there? But no, here it's just like oh, thank you a lot, Jacob. I'm afraid I'm not spelling your you guys' names right, but I hope so. Hamza, actually, that's a very interesting point. If you go on the production quotes that I sent you and that you have there available, and if you go on the film, you will not find a single one that looks the same. But obviously, what you do when you shoot is you try to find the location, find the people, find the colors and the light to match as much as possible what the initial idea was. So they look the same. If you look carefully, none of them is the same. The only one that is actually the same is on the bird film. The image of the deer, it is the same in the film and on the storyboard. And the reason why was that we don't have deers in Portugal. It's very complicated to shoot deers live because you never know where they are. So we use stock footage of the deer, and because we use stock footage of the deer, I went online, chose the shot that I wanted to use, and then obviously I used the frame of that shot for the storyboard. But that was the only shot that was actually the same. Yeah, Shaif, nice work. I did like it. I'll probably watch it again later and in a more calm environment because I didn't have really time to follow the story. I was more focused on the shots. But I do get the feeling, and what I got out of it was that it was very well shot. Any more questions, guys? I guess not. Well, thank you all. It was a pleasure. It was odd to be talking with the machine for an hour, I must say, because I don't get feedback. I don't see you guys, so it's kind of odd to be here. But it was nice to share. Thank you. Yeah, I do. If you look for Antonio Aleixo on Facebook, there's probably not a lot of them, but I can send you my ID. There you go. Feel free to add me. It'll be an honor. And now, guys, I'm turning this off because as I was saying when my producer came in, we're pre-producing another commercial that starts tomorrow. I just wrapped on another one for MTV yesterday, and this is that time of the year before summer. Everyone, because the weather is nice and all the summer campaigns are starting, so everyone is in right now, and I have still loads to do today. Well, Saleh, yeah, those are the rules of the game. As I said, like if this was like a classroom, I could go on and on and on and on for hours. 'Cause, you know, like when I get like direct feedback, it's a lot easier because I get like to understand how the mood is going, and I get like questions, and Q&A comes naturally. It's a lot easier. But you know. Anyway, guys, I'm calling this off. Have a great day or evening if in Qatar, and hope to see you guys soon. By the way, I'm gonna be in Qatar on the 14th, lecturing a workshop on 30-second narratives, which are basically narratives for commercials. It's a workshop organized by Intube Center as well. Feel free to, exactly, that's the one, Intube Center just posted it. Feel free to come around and say hi or come and enroll in the workshop. You have the link there, Shahid. Hope to meet you guys soon. You're welcome, Mohammed. Hello, Holly? Are you there? Oh, Holly is not. Okay, guys, need to go. See you guys soon. Thank you very much.